Relapse is definitely part of the journey, and it's definitely something that most people are going to have to experience at least once. I think relapse is a really important part of it, and if looked at it correctly, it can be used to help fuel the next round of trying to quit, and it can be used as a learning tool. Depending on how many times one has to go through it, will depend on the person, and that can be quite frustrating as well. For example, with sugar, I spent 2 years, 2+ years, like trying really hard to quit sugar. Like I went 4 months one time and I slipped. I got books. I cut out every food I ever loved. I said goodbye to get rid of it. And then I found myself, like, next thing I knew, I was at Whole Foods getting these little like chocolate mousse tarts, and they were going in my mouth, and I'm like, what? Like, I was ready this time, and then the consequences would come. I'd wake up, I'd be covered in acne because of the sugar. I'd be tired, moody, irritable. Like, why? Like, it's like consequences, consequences, consequences. And the point of this is that each relapse was in a sense teaching me, like, hey man, remember, this is what's going to happen. And it was in a sense training the muscle to be able to be a little stronger next time those cravings came. Just kind of be able to say, like, hey, whoa, 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 before you indulge or can think about indulging these thoughts about going and having some Oreos again, let's remember last time we did this, even though we said it's going to be okay this time and that this time is going to be different, you felt like shit the next day and for the next 3 4 days, and you had to start all over. Remember that, remember that. And I would sometimes, I listen to it, sometimes I wouldn't. Overall though, I learned that, yes, that each time I did get a little stronger, and each time I was able to kind of like be like, you know what, you're right. Like, I'm not gonna do this tonight because shit, that sucked. And in a sense, that's what's happening with the relapse, with this particular instance. And it was really important that they understood, like, hey, I get another shot at this. This isn't for forever. It hurts at the moment, so it's important to feel that pain and that discomfort, and then again use it as fuel for the next round. It's almost like, you think of it like boxing, right? Like you're boxing with your addiction. Creed got knocked down, Rocky got knocked down, but they both got back up and they kept going. And so that's kind of the attitude that can be very helpful in this situation. So, which the other thing that could happen is that it's like, oh my God, I relapse, shit, I might as well just keep relapsing, and then before we know it, it's like another month or two has gone by, and it's like, well, damn. So that's kind of what we're trying to avoid here. So life can be frustrating in other areas too, besides addiction recovery, with relationships, with work and stuff. I wasn't taught about it. I wasn't taught about how to behave in those situations when I was feeling frustration. I wasn't taught how to release it in a healthy, productive way. I was either shamed for it, whereas like, you're a bad person for feeling shame, go sit in the corner. Or I was told to suck it up, like, don't show that emotion, like you should be grateful, you should be tough, all that stuff. And I'm like, well, not feeling tough right now, right? I'm feeling pissed, I'm feeling upset. What do I do? And it just, over the years, it just kept getting pushed down and down and down until, well, eventually it started to seep out in other kind of unhealthy, unpleasant ways, which obviously many of you can probably relate to. It's like, why am I being passive aggressive towards this person that I care about? Like, what? Or why am I acting this way when I know better? Well, it's because it's that emotion is just so needs to get out. And so I'm just thinking here, like, what do I do when I feel frustration? Because I felt a little bit of it recently, not gonna lie to you. And I got sick last week, and I didn't get to exercise very much, and I noticed that kind of played a hit on the mood. And some stuff has not been like going super well, like as well as I've liked anyway, with relationship stuff. So I'm feeling some frustration with that. What did I do? Well, uh, I allowed that frustration to come up. Really, really tapped into it, how it felt on like an internal level, which involved almost like an internal shaking. It was just like, oh, it was like, ooh, I'm feeling a little bit of it now. I was like, ah. And then talking about it too. So like what I like to do is I like to hop on a recovery support group meeting, and they're free. They're all over the place. They're like just basically search whatever addiction you're dealing with, like support group. Like I can't say the name of the groups by name because there's privacy purposes and for anonymity's sake. I mean, as I say all the time, use common sense. You'll figure it out. And so I hop on one of those meetings, and in those meetings, there's like a share session where you can just talk about whatever's going on. You don't get interrupted. People don't like, tell you to. Well, some meetings do if it's like more of like a, maybe it's involving like sexual stuff or whatever. At most meetings, you can just talk freely and kind of get out what you need to get out. And so I like to go on those. I went on one tonight, and kind of explain what I was going through like in detail because it's like in specific to a specific topic, and it feels a lot. It feels I feel way better. I feel like, I feel like I'm not carrying it around anymore. Like I'm not carrying a 10-pound rucksack hiking up a mountain. It's like, okay, I'm a little more free now, and I have a little more clarity too on maybe why I was feeling some of the frustration.